So a very good afternoon to all of you. I am Ayushman Barwa, Bureau Head at Entrepreneur India, and your moderator for this panel today on how GCCs have evolved over the years from managing back office operations to becoming digital twins of their parent organizations. A topic indeed very close to my heart. The gray hair on my head proves the fact that I have been a journalist who has covered GCCs much before they were actually known as GCCs. Initially, they were known as captives and then as GICs or global in-house centers. In fact, at that time, they didn't even make newspaper headlines or even chosen as topics for panels like these. Today, India has about more than 1,700 GCCs that employs over 1.9 million people. And that number is significantly expected to expand in the next couple of years. In that context, I would like to welcome our esteemed panel, Shalini from PlanView, Sriram from Sabre, Rajesh from KenView, and Supratim from Origo. So the first question, obviously, will start with the obvious, I would like to know from you all. So how have your organizations evolved over the years from being a back office tech center to actually becoming an integral part of your parent organizations? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So, like every organization, we started off doing kind of QC, work like that, and implementations and things like that. Now, at the stage that we are in, I should say, we are leading in several of the latest technologies that we are going to put out there for the customers, and we're truly solving global problems. Meaning, we started off doing what was considered as like back office or work that were next, right? We are not directly in front of the customers and so on. Now, name the airlines in the world, we are there in front of them, talking to them, giving them what they want and working them on the latest and greatest thing. The good thing about a company like us who have existed probably for like 60 years, right? So the thing is, we have all the way from mainframes to the Gen AI kind of a thing, right? So it's a huge gamut of things we have. And that's what we focus on. So we are there in every portion of it. So that's how we have evolved.
Shalini.
I think Sriram pretty much described the journey of almost every GCC. I have joined PlanView recently, about 3 years ago, which is when our GCC movement really took flight. While we've had a nucleus, just referring back to Ayushman's point, I'm glad we have come out of the captive world. It sounds like we were prisoners. So I'm glad we are no longer called that. PlanView, we've had an interesting journey. We never went through this back office to front office kind of a movement. We leapfrogged across the stages. So as we set it up as a multifunctional center from pre-sales, sales, all the way till post-sales. So essentially looking at across all functions, supporting every product and platform, supporting every geography. So we have cut through a lot of stages that typical GCC goes through. But now we took a very intentional leap and said that we want to set it up in a way it is a complete microcosm. It doesn't mean it was easy. There were growing pains. But right now we are in that mode where the ramp up is done and now we are focused on really stabilizing, driving value. So that's been our journey.
Thank you. Rajesh,
Good afternoon, and everyone, of course, for having this opportunity for us. And I don't know whether this is a session before lunch or how, but there is always a challenge before lunch because you're standing between lunch and, obviously the engagement. Or post-lunch, obviously a different challenge. But for the starters, KenView came into being in 2023. Before that, it was part of Johnson & Johnson. So we are the consumer packaged goods company, which was part of Johnson & Johnson for 135 years. And then we are sort of a startup in our own mindset. So from the day one when KenView came into being, so there was a very conscious, intentional decision taken at the headquarters that we will ride the wave of GCC from point one. There were multiple business reasons, of course. So we didn't have to go through, like my panelists mentioned, all those back office, front office, because right from day one, we are very clear this has to be a capability play. This has to be a mini ecosystem functional play where we are the digitally and tech enabled center, which is transforming the business, which is doing the innovation which is required. And of course, to transform the Kenvue business, which obviously hasn't seen much of a transformation, because of the business reasons altogether. So we are pretty good about 450, 500 people in GCC in the last 1.5 years. And I think the growth is just about to begin. We have all tech, non-tech, business, global functions which are starting to scale up in GCC. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Happy to, of course, engage over the next half an hour, 45 minutes.
Thank you. Supratim, your thoughts?
Thank you so much. And I think there's a lot of alignment already in this forum here. Origo, I'm representing Origo, and we also, since the time we started off in 2003, the thought has never been of being a GCC in general, right? It's design decisions, architecture, ideation, solution design. Everything has been done out of the Bangalore office. So I think it's part of the Origo DNA that we are already contributing to the entire product life cycle, right from the inception, ideation to the the time it reaches the customer. So and why not? We have such talented individuals in this ecosystem. India produces such wonderful talent. I think we will probably talk about a few other areas where we could improve as an ecosystem, as a talent base. But in general, I think we are already there. We are not really operating as a support function. We are making decisions, and we are driving business with what we do from here.
Very nice to hear that. Yeah. Anything? So, but what is the biggest challenge in terms of, because we work from India here, and biggest challenge in terms of aligning the local team with the parent organization? Is there more acceptance, or what is the biggest challenge that you see? We can start from you, Aaron.
Okay. I would not say big challenge in acceptance and all that. I think we have passed all that.
Right.
We are almost treated equal in every aspect of it. I don't see there is any issue of acceptance, right? But when you have multiple GCCs that your parent organization has, which is across the world, right? Probably something in East Asia, something in India, then we go to Eastern Europe, then we have something in Western Europe. It's kind of, we have GCCs all around the world.
Right.
Then there is a big thing that as GCC leaders that we try to do is to try to control the narrative to get that edge, right? That's something that we focus heavily on, and a lot of work happens in kind of harnessing the spirit and harnessing the talent and the advantage we have here, conducting multiple hackathons and trying to prove ourselves and get to the race and win these things, right? That's the key thing. It's not that we are facing any issues in acceptance or we have to prove to get to a stage and all that. I think we have crossed all that now. It's mostly a level playing field, right? Like Thomas Friedman says, it's a level playing field. It's all about how do you basically tackle and move forward. That's how it is, I think.
Shalini?
Fully agree with Sriram. I think it's a grown-up game now. We no longer can wear the hat of a so-called GCC. And I keep saying this to my team every single day. Today, if there is any challenge, it's not about local, global, onshore, offshore. While some of those elements will always remain because we're dealing with human beings here and there. But it comes down to leadership. In my mind, leadership here, leadership there. Can you take on? Can you really own? Can you drive? Because ultimately, it's about running the business. And if each of us, GCC leaders, every single colleague of mine I speak to, we are all talking of what is the business level OKR and are you driving towards it. Once you do that, it's truly a level playing field, good, bad and ugly.
Right.
Yeah, I think the beauty of reaching the response to this point is because Sriram and Shalini would have already covered some part of it, right? So making our job easier.
Next time we'll try it. Yeah.
All right. No, but I think some of the points have already been mentioned. So what I say is, it's not about the acceptance because we have moved past. But I think still there are some rough edges that we need to smoothen out. And what those rough edges are, see, you may have an executive sponsorship for a center right now through a very enthusiastic leader sitting in headquarters. But what if that executive sponsor changes? then do you have to really prove the worth of GCC once again through the lens of a new executive leader who comes in, who may be looking at things from a cost angle, from a co-location perspective, or from a near shore, and a lot of other dimensions come in. And the second thing is, of course, where I think GCCs are sort of still maturing in some ways, is from a strategic alignment. So there are business goals, there are business OKRs, but obviously GCCs are obviously designed and set up to build and deliver those goals. But there are certain rough edges that, of course, that need to be smoothened out in terms of how those alignments can be more unsaid, unwritten. You don't have to necessarily keep proving your strategic alignment out again. And there is what kind of an autonomous and control-free nature has been given to the GCC leaders so that they can take some local ecosystem decisions, not that every time they have to run to the headquarters for approvals, optics, and things of that nature. And the most important element, of course, what I would say is, and this is not like an alignment stuff, but this is a talent. Of course, there is a talent pool which is sitting there, 1,700 GCCs, poised to become 3,000, as the numbers keep coming in. The pool is limited.
Yeah.
And everyone is looking forward to the same pool. So do we have consistent HR practices, people practices, benefit practices, that those kind of opportunities attract the talent? Or we as just GCC, because we may have more money in the pocket, we are throwing more money to get the talent from another GCC, obviously that may be harmful to them, but obviously it is benefiting for me, but obviously I can't exist alone in this ecosystem. I need to see how it is creating a precedent in the system as well. Right. So I think some of that challenge, obviously we as a GCC ecosystem have to solve ourselves. Because by, ruining somebody's GCC, I just can't be a successful GCC. We have to be co-creating and coexisting.
And we also compete with the large IT services firms in a way. So
that's correct.
Right. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, it's much easier to sit this side. Probably I chose the seat because of that. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
But no, I mean, Origo, I think we are operating in a slightly niche industry. We build enterprise SaaS products and solutions that caters to the capital and infrastructure management owners, mostly in the US today. Now, our customers are predominantly government agencies, the departments of transport, state, city, county, government agencies who use our software to manage the entire capital projects and their infrastructure and facility projects. Now, when it comes to this, the gap that I see between, the dependency that I see, I wouldn't say a gap, but dependency that we have, I see, is in terms of the domain expertise, right? Because we have the talent to build the product, but we need to understand the domain. And since we have been operating from 2003, I can tell you that we have kind of bridged that gap as well. By having experts, subject matter experts, or even domain experts, have enablement sessions with our teams over here, either remotely visit Bangalore, or we take our teams there to the US. We are headquartered in Austin, Texas. We have facilities there where we can have these transitions and knowledge sharing sessions. So it's kind of bridged, but that's the only place where I see that there is a little bit of dependency and a learning curve that we always have to go through when we incubate newer talent.
Absolutely.
If I may just add, I think I fully agree with both of your points, especially around the rough edges, right? The reason I talked of leadership, and I think I'll add leadership plus quality of talent, because when you're playing in a level playing field, you're competing at that level. So you're no longer in a justification zone. Every engineer, every product manager you put forward has to be a world-class. I think that's where, as GCC leaders, we are probably all working towards today, rather than the day-to-day alignment bit, right. Because now that journey is past, right? So one of the ways as PlanView we are doing is we are trying to really develop an ecosystem here, because we work in the business of digital transformations. Essentially means we work with Fortune 60 of 100 of customers. So almost every one of those customers will have an entity here, will be running a large GCC here. So one of the levers that we have been using in the last few years is develop that customer user ecosystem here in India, GCC to GCC co-creation of ecosystem. Start moving the needle on customer and user angle. It helps expertise. It helps cut down a lot of noisy conversations. Once you bring in the customer angle, you are kind of have the right seat at the right table. So that's something which, it's a harder experiment, but definitely working out.
Right. That brings me to the next question that I would like to ask. Maybe we'll start with Supratim this time. So, are there any examples of solutions that are being built in India for the world, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, our flagship product, which we call as the Origo Masterworks Cloud, this is a SaaS solution that we have. This is used by almost 300 customers in the US. I, in fact, wanted to, while I was sitting over here in the audience, I was trying to gather some data, which I thought I will share with you guys. I will have to look at the numbers here. I'll give you some examples of customers who are using our solution, right? The Utah DOT, the Department of Transport of Utah, they manage $25 billion of capital projects through our solution. They maintain almost 6,000 miles of roadways, 243 highways with 16,000 lane miles across Utah. So you can imagine the magnanimity of the work that they have to manage using our software. I'll give you another slightly different example of Tampa Bay Water District. 2.5 million residents in Tampa Bay have clean water because of the facilities that they have constructed using our project management solutions, right? $255 million capital budgets are managed using our Origo software today. I'll give you some more, slightly different, industry examples. DART, if you know, Dallas Area Rapid Transit. They have $1 billion annual budget that they manage through our product. 700 square miles service areas, 222,000 passengers daily. This is the kind of impact that our softwares are making. We are developing it sitting here in India. Imagine we are changing the lives of people sitting in America. I think it's a matter of pride that I feel it while I'm stating this, and we should all feel proud of the talent pool that we have here and the impact that we are making globally. Thank you.
Great point. Rajesh?
Sure, no, absolutely. So when we formed the GCC in 2023, so the first team that we set up was the complete data and AI hub. AI, machine learning, data science and everything, because there was a very strong solution and a problem that we were dealing with. So we had to grow our business as part of the new entity that spun off. So, the leadership obviously conceived something which is called the science of brand growth, how the brand grows, through the minds of creating a demand in the mind of customer. When the customer goes to the store, the item is available in the shelf, he ends up or she ends up buying it, of course. But if either of the component is not available, in case you can't generate the demand in the mind of a customer, then obviously that's not a sale. And if the demand is there, but the product is not there, obviously that is not a sale as well. So, very happy to say that the overall end-to-end AI, data science and the machine learning solution and platform which was created to ignite this whole, the science of brand growth was done out of India. And that too within the first 6 months of, the whole 25, 30 member team that we picked up from multiple retail organizations, technology organizations with a strong domain knowledge, because this needs domain. So now, that solution is obviously implemented across thousands of Walmart stores, Walgreens stores in US and some of the other market stores as well. And it is being driven from India. It is being enhanced from India. It is being obviously constantly edited or whichever way obviously enhanced for the markets in which Canvas is profiting. So that is one success story. And similarly, we have the whole infrastructure transformation and the cloud transformation for the whole organization which is being done. The team is set up in India with 100 plus people who are building things, engineering things, and sort of supporting round the clock for the global customers as well. So 2, but obviously I have more, but I'll let the other panelists obviously share.
Shalini?
We have a similar one which is on infrastructure. Essentially, the whole of PlanView product infrastructure is being completely transformed from an India team, so which essentially means we are not just the backbone of running it, but completely transforming it. So that's one. The other thing which is interesting, we are doing beyond product and engineering, because I know you all have some amazing examples of product and engineering, so I'll probably give a different example, is we've also embarked on working with and exploring India as a go-to-market. So with that, what has happened is we are leveraging this market and these use cases back to re-engineer and re-transform and create brand new set of solution toolkits in our existing platform, which is a very, very interesting one. Typically what happens is a one-way flow. So for example, we are a fairly sector agnostic solution, but if I take one of the areas that we are working very closely is automotive. We are leveraging some of the core Indian automotive automaker brands and their transformation journey, their PLM journey, and we're working closely with them, using that to go back and really retransform a lot more European and US customer automotive workflows. For me, that's again a matter of pride and transformation, because in my past life, it's always been a one-way. And we have a lot of these interesting moments when it comes to things like customer success. Because typically customer success as a function remains where the customers are, is what is told. So what we did in Plan, we said, while you can continue your in-person customer success motion, we began a whole new motion called digital customer success. Sitting in India, we're managing almost a third of our book of business through a digital motion, brand new motion, which is just 18 months old. We have our hiccups. Not everything is hunky-dory, but some of these are classic examples of reinventing, beyond engineering, reinventing operating models and changing the customer models.
Sriram?
Cool. I don't want to kind of talk about the products that we do. I think two things that have worked exceptionally well that we have started from India and kind of been adopted across the globe. One is giving a free hand to the young engineers we have. That's something that we have basically take all of the management out, right? Meaning give them full free flow, whether it's design, whether it's tech, whether it's decision making, whether it's being in the front of the customer, right? Yes, we'll fall a few times, but wherever we have done that, that has worked exceptionally well for us, right? I think that's something that kind of takes us apart, and that's an attempt that we did, and that worked out exceptionally well, purely believing on our ability to be on the feet, thinking and trying to be free and go there, right? That has truly transformed, I should say, the way we have basically looked out. And that's been one of the best things that we've done so far. We have done multiple products, impacted several airlines across the globe and all that from here. But I think the key thing that the distinguishing factor that happened was this, I should say, and everybody's adopting it.
Thank you. So I'm told we don't have much time, so I'll just ask one last thing to each one of you. Maybe if you can just start off itself, what are the top technologies that you are working on, and where do you see yourself from here, right?
So travel is a big space in India, right? And India, we're growing like unbelievably big, right? The number of airports that are coming and the people who are flying. Any guess who's the biggest airlines in the world? By the number of people who travel. Indigo is number 2. Ryan? No. It's American Airlines. So they are number 1 and Indigo is number 2. You know what's the people boarded, passengers boarded roughly on Indigo planes? 1 year? We have like 60 plus airports functioning now, right? So we have 100 million people boarded, right? That's truly the big transformation that we're seeing in terms of what we're seeing as a country, right? And just imagine 100 more airports opening in the next 4 years, right? In the kind of people who are going to fly and the amount of people who are going to fly, there's a ton of stuff that's required around these. So what we are truly innovating in every stack and every layer of it. I think the key thing that we are working on, right, is slightly contradictory probably to what everybody's thinking. Yes, we are using AI, Gen AI tools and all that for developer productivity, right? We are making Copilot write code for us, right? We are working with Gemini extensively with Google, right? So we are doing a lot of that on that area. But I think where we are going to focus is something OR, right? That's where I think the next few years are going to be in pure operations research. We are looking for raw people who can actually do operations research kind of work, and that's where we are focusing on in the next few years, I should say.
Shalini, briefly.
Sure. AI, I think, is at the heart of it also. I'll not go down that path. For us, I think it's become a commodity, right, as an industry. It's something which which will probably transform every technology. But going down the path, you mentioned OR. So we are a portfolio management, work management, digital transformation a kind of a platform. So we are trying to disrupt, in a way, our own business, which is we are really disrupting the entire planning business, which will affect every organization, every industry. And that's what we are doing. We know that's at the heart of our own business, but we also believe this is exactly the right time to do that. So that's the answer.
Thank you. Rajesh?
All right. So, I mean, I'll talk about generally from a GCC, and again, CanView is part of that, so you can assume. So, I see things from 4 angles, of course: proactivity, predictability, protection, and privacy. These are the 4 pillars that all of us are obviously constantly focusing on. So, our next set of technologies are also going to be focusing on which can deliver these 4 pillars. When it talks about predictability and proactivity, it is all about Gen AI, how you can actually make things more, self-healing, self-service, and more predictable in nature, so that the businesses have to do less of those mundane works and they can continue to focus on growth. They can continue to focus on optimization, how to cut down at the bottom of the whole tree so that the value tree grows up. So that will be number 1. Cybersecurity, no points for guessing. That has to be number 1. All those systems are great to build with good Gen AIs and other product features, but as long as security is not there, it is it is hostage to something else. And CanView is not far away, so these are all part of my pillars as well. Where do I see GCC and myself is, becoming a more transformation hubs and value creators for the parent organizations than just continue to become the support centers or keep delivering ad hoc solutions. That should be number 1. And second thing, from a radical thinking perspective, if I should say, see, there's a term called total cost of ownership. Today, GCCs have to constantly keep seeing things from a total cost of ownership. Over the next 5 years, I see that term completely going away from our dictionary, because GCC should not be seen as total cost of ownership, because that should be given. It should be total value delivery that needs to come into the system as well. Rest all technologies, business processes will come into picture, but the mind shift will change from more from captives to capability to really more transformation hubs with value, irrespective of the cost, because cost will always remain a factor. The difference may reduce over the period of time, but that should not be spoken in our GCC governances and the leadership and the GCC governances, of course. So I see that TCO term going away in the next 5 years.
Supratim?
Yeah, I think cost is always a very, very critical cog in the wheel, right? But I think in terms of technologies, Origo, we are again very similar to what you said earlier, AI-powered solutions. But in the infrastructure, in the government agencies, there's a little bit of apprehension in terms of data privacy, in terms of a lot of that. Right. So we are trying to overcome that. But one of the things that I'm very, very keen on, and we are looking to invest more time and energy, is IoT-enabled, infrastructure management, sensor-driven data. Because today what happens is on-field information comes from either mobile app that the individual carries and puts in data into the system. There's another area where we are trying to explore Bathy drone, where underwater data underwater needs to be collected and tracked and monitored, and that feeds into your business decisions of capital management. So these are all areas we're working with University of Florida in exploring the drone, Bathy drone, area. These are some new things that we're working on. All worked out of this facility here. We are coordinating across the globe. So that's very interesting for me.
Right. Thank you so much for your sharp insights. I'm sure we are all a little wiser and more knowledgeable towards GCCs after listening to this esteemed panel. As the moderator, I take the privilege of summarizing this entire panel in just one word. Can anyone challenge me with one word? It's wow. So thank you so much.